McPhail gets the ball, beats two defenders, lobs over Johnston, and it's a goal.
The League Cup final of the 23rd of October 1965 was an epoch-defining moment in time, after which Scottish football would never be the same again. Jock Stein had barely been Celtic manager for 7 months and had made an excellent start after a few early stutters, winning the Scottish Cup final against Dunfermline in April to secure Celtic's first trophy in 7 long years. In the 19 seasons since the resumption of official football in Scotland after the cessation of hostilities in World War II, Celtic had been intermittently successful and consistently frustrating. They had won the league just once, the Scottish Cup 3 times and the League Cup on 2 occasions, the last success the 7-1 annihilation of Rangers in the 1957 final. Since then, the club, under Corinthian-like chairman Robert Kelly, had tried to build success on a youth policy along the lines of Manchester United's Busby Babes. The Kelly kids, sometimes unkindly referred to as Bob Kelly and the Easy Beats, were a talented bunch, including Billy McNeil, Bertie Auld, Pat Crerand, Steve Chalmers and Charlie Gallagher. By 1963, future European Cup winners Tommy Gemmell, Bobby Murdoch, Jimmy Johnston and Bobby Lennox were breaking through, but they lacked leadership in the dugout and experience on the field. They were talented but brittle, and frequently came up short against the regimented and iron-hard Rangers sides of the era, with the chairman frowning on any attempt by Celtic players to fight fire with fire against them. Since Jock Stein's arrival, things were looking up, but they had lost their first showdown with Rangers earlier in the season, and the League Cup final was to be the acid test of the new team he was fashioning in his own image. In front of a crowd of over 107,000 expectant fans, Celtic lined up Simpson, Young, Gemmell, Murdoch, McNeil, Clark, Johnston, Gallagher, McBride, Lennox, Hughes. This was to be the match in which Celtic served notice that they were soft touches no longer. The scene was set within the first 5 minutes when Ian Young came crashing into the dangerous Willie Johnston, who earned himself a booking along with Young by his reaction, but spent the rest of the match keeping well away from his marker in total anonymity. The Glasgow Herald of the 25th of October 1965 was horrified, with Raymond Jacobs writing, "Man went for man, tripping, kicking, hacking and jersey pulling were rife. How can Scottish football raise its hands piously in horror against the same gambits of continental players when the 2 leading teams in the country indulge in the orgy of crudeness which made this so unpalatable a spectacle?" In truth, the only new thing about this orgy of crudeness was that Celtic were giving back as good as they got, much to the discomfort of Robert Kelly, looking on with some unease from the director's box. Celtic took the lead on 18 minutes with a John Hughes penalty kick and then went on to take command.
Completely disheartened. Wilson getting a wigging from referee Phillips. Ball handled by McKinnon. Penalty kick. Penalty kick to Celtic. The ball handled by McKinnon, and quite needlessly at that.
Ricks is up to some sportsmanship. Game of your shoes. It's a goal! A goal for Celtic after 18 minutes from that penalty. So there's the score. Celtic 1, Rangers 0 after 18 minutes of the first half.
Jimmy Johnston was brought crashing to the ground in the box after waltzing around David Provan, and the referee had no hesitation in awarding a second penalty. Hughes showed nerves of steel to slam it home, Ritchie this time guessing correctly, but despite getting a hand to the ball, being unable to keep it out.
Well, this really is an extraordinary League Cup final. 29 minutes gone, and Mr. Phillips is giving the second penalty of the match, again to be taken by outside left Hughes. Well, Ritchie got his hands to it, but couldn't stop the ball. So, Rangers 0, Celtic 2.
Hughes would tell Graham McCall in 2008 for the official biography of Celtic, "I always put my penalties in the same place, to the goalkeeper's right," he says. "But Greg spoke to Ritchie, the Rangers goalkeeper, before the first penalty. I could see him speaking to him, so I changed it. It wasn't a particularly good penalty, it wasn't in the corner, it was about 2 feet from the corner, and Ritchie half got to it, but it went in, and that made it a good one. The second one I hit where I normally put them, and he got his hand to it, but he didn't stop it. I'm proud of scoring those goals because you're under a lot of pressure taking a penalty, especially against the Rangers. I was quite chuffed with myself after that." Rangers pulled a goal back in the 84th minute when John Gregg attacked a high ball at the far post. There may have been a foul on Ronnie Simpson, and the ball hit Ian Young on its way in, but Celtic held on to win the League Cup for just the third time.
Well, I'm just going to say Celtic got into the semi-finals the last minute goal, but they've won the match at Hampden. Celtic beat the holders of the League Cup, Rangers, by 2-1, and the on-the-spot summing up is that Rangers fell out of the match after they conceded penalty number 1, allowed Celtic to become very much on top, and the better team has won here at Hampden.
The main drama of the day came after the match, as the Celtic players made the traditional lap of honour with the cup, only to be met by a pitch invasion and attempted assaults by irate Rangers fans unable to take their defeat. The inquiry afterwards banned laps of honour after cup finals indefinitely, but as far as football was concerned, a new era was begun. Celtic would go on to contest every League Cup final from then until 1978, although after 1969 they seemed to lose it every year. But the football tide had turned. Celtic had served notice that they were the new undisputed kings of Scottish football, and the hegemony that Jock Stein ushered in would last for another 20 years. Barring the decade and a half from 1986, it has remained that way ever since. The Scottish Cup final of 1965 is commonly thought of as being the game that paved the way for everything Jock Stein's Celtic went on to achieve. But Rangers had held the Indian sign over Celtic for many years. No matter how well they played, they always seemed to crumble in the face of the professionalism, regimentation and intimidation of the Ibrox side. No more would that be the case, as Young, Gemmell, McNeil, Murdoch and Hughes faced them down on what was a truly great Celtic day.